So you did some spell work. Now what?
Necronomicon is coming.
So this video is going to be on the topic of acting in accord. This is a phrase that's used in a lot of pagan books. It's where I got the phrase from in my library of 50 or so books. I couldn't exactly tell you the author that I read it from, but we're going to go with that phrase. Acting in accord has to do with what you do after you do spell work that allows the energy to flow so you can get or achieve what you want and what your intention was when you did your spell work, whether it was invoking one of the names of Marduk or a chord spell, candle magic. You guys get the idea. I always rant a list. Anyway, acting in accord is kind of like meeting the influences and the divinity that you are working with, or the spirits that you are working with, halfway. You know, whenever we're working towards a goal in our mundane life, we kind of have to put our effort into it. You know, we don't get a paycheck by just going into a cubicle and playing solitaire on the computer all day. From experience from other people that have told me stuff at given offices, we all know that one worker where it's really like, how come you're not fired yet? Well, hopefully people that are watching this video, and hopefully people that practice magic, really aren't those kinds of guys that are the ones who nobody can believe that they haven't gotten fired yet. So basically, acting in accord has to do with what you do to allow that intention to play out in your life. So let's give a couple of examples. You guys know my favorites by now, probably. By the way, this is my 71st video. I can't believe it. So I'll go from my personal experiences here. Let's say that somebody did a binding spell. You know I love those. A binding spell, so somebody would leave them alone. Now, if the person that did the spell happens to cross paths with the person that they bound and just walks by them, looks ahead, and does not pay them any attention, acts like they don't exist, that's acting in accord. If that person, you know, chances are, if you wanted to bind somebody, chances are you don't like them very much. And at least for me, when I don't like somebody, yeah, I love to say shit, you know, but or at least I used to. And so if you walk by that person that you bound their energy from you, or you bound their like expressions and things like that, and you happen to, I don't know, make a random comment at them, and, you know, passive aggressive as you walk by, well, that you're shooting yourself in the foot there, because if your intent was to not have this person talk to you, then why would you talk to them? Or let's say you did a spell to get a job, and then when it came to filling out the application or even going to the interview, you didn't put any effort into doing any research about what the job was about. You didn't go over your resume or anything to update it before you applied for the job. You didn't double check that you had the right references, or maybe you didn't even use a lint roller on your suit before you went into the interview. I cover all my bases when I go, but let's say you did a spell to get a job and you happen to not put maximum effort into prepping for that, then Spirit's not going to give you what you wanted if you're not acting like you deserve it, you know? Basically, yeah, if you don't act like you deserve it, then you're not gonna get what you want. You know, you dress for the job that you want. You work as hard as you can to get where you want to go. I mean, there's the movie Get a Job, which is fantastic, by the way, if you haven't seen it, where the main character's dad referenced that when he got into this job, which was a really, really cruddy job, he looked at the one office that had air conditioning. He said, you know what, I'm going to get there. That's setting intention right there. Now, let's say, in this example, that his intention was, I'm gonna work hard enough to rise through the ranks and get that air conditioned office. So let's say he's pagan. He goes home and he does a spell for it, and then every single day when he goes to work, he thinks about that office. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna get there, and he works his butt off. Even when he feels a little bit sick, he goes in, and he's nice to everybody, and he works his way up the ranks, and eventually he does get it. That's acting in accord. Basically, you don't just wait for a handout. You act towards what you want, and you achieve it. Now, if you take a step back from this and you apply a skeptical argument, you could say that the person got what they wanted just because they worked so hard to get it. Now, the viewpoint from a magical perspective is that when you do a spell for something and you're acting in accord with what you want every day, that is allowing the energy that you set in motion to flow and kind of set up situations where, somebody at a job might notice that you're doing really good. You might get recommended for a raise, things like that. So it'll kind of set up the dominoes for you. And so you could say that it just happens because it happens because you work hard, but the magical perspective is that dominoes get set up in a way to achieve what you want. It kind of sets a roadmap out for you, but it doesn't exactly tell you what the roadmap is. As long as you have the aim of where you want to go and what your intention was, you're going to get there. And the psychological background or the psychological viewpoint could say that if you're aiming towards something, then of course you're going to act towards it, and then you're going to get it. The idea behind magic is the belief in what you are doing. We are energetic beings. If you go into physics and string theory and a lot of new science stuff that's coming out, everything is energy. Just ask about the measurement problem, and you'll understand that everything is constantly moving, everything is vibration, everything is energy. And the idea is that when we have a thought that's really, really powerful, and we hold that thought as we're going through the universe, we vibrate at a certain level that allows other things to kind of resonate with what we're doing, so everything works harmoniously, so we don't run into any bumps and we don't run into any conflicts. I mean, there's plenty of examples of people where they're just super lucky all the damn time, and that's because of their optimism and their energy that they're letting out. A lot of people don't understand that from a magical perspective, when you're like getting in the zone before you go into an interview, you're setting the energy up. When you are planning something, you are putting energy into an idea. So a lot of times, from the perspective of a pagan, a lot of other people are doing magic without even knowing it. And it's going in this optimistic flow towards your goal, and always holding that goal in mind and saying, if I'm going to achieve this, what do I need to do to deserve it? I've prayed for help, I've done my spell work, so I know that the energy is set up for me to get there. It's like a goalpost. It sets up a goalpost for you, but you still have to run towards it. So that's acting in accord in a nutshell. Let me know if that made sense. Questions, comments, complaints, concerns, issues, leave them in the comments. And before I say my last line here, let me just put a little segment in here. I am the way that I'm feeling about it is I am really wrapping up the finishing of my manuscript of Lamadou Dingir, and I will probably just be editing it for flow, praise, and grammar for a little while, and I definitely think that I'm going to meet the self-imposed goalpost and deadline, acting in accord here, with releasing my manuscript, my book, by the end of this year. So let's hope I can get there, but thanks for everybody that's watching this video. So let me know what you think in the comments. Check out my other vids for more explanations of magical practices and working with the Necronomicon, and good hunting.